I'm delighted to welcome to the Concours Virtual, Keith Martin. Keith, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm here in Portland, Oregon, and it's a sunny day.
No, can't ask for any better than that. Now, I'm sure most people in the collector car hobby know Keith. Keith has been the publisher of Sports Car Market for probably more years than he'd care to remember. He's a stable at many of the international concours, very respected, well-respected judge, MC, and a market commentator. And it wouldn't be the same without having you, Keith, as part of the concours. So really welcome aboard.
Well, thank you. I was honored when you asked me. It's interesting to have an American-based magazine that focuses on European sports cars. And it just points out the difference in the car experience between America with its wide open spaces and big cars, and Europe with all the twisties and mountains and cars that were developed to have good brakes and small engine displacement. It's just two different worlds.
You're absolutely right, but it's great that that our hobby brings those together, and we can share those European cars in American locations and American cars in European locations as well. So
right.
So Sports Car Market. How long have you been publishing it, and how's it looking at the moment?
Well, this is our 34th year. I started it in my basement with a copy machine, a mimeograph machine actually, but nobody knows what that is anymore. And it was just a hobby. And I feel so lucky that this hobby has turned into something that's taken up so much of my life. I've met so many people, and I've gotten a chance to look at the collector car world on all continents and appreciate the fine people that are drawn to our hobby.
Yeah, it's an amazing hobby, isn't it? And I have to say, I've now been a publisher for about 20 years. I've always looked up at Sports Car Market to be in the game as long as you have, with so many magazines falling by the wayside. For you to be as strong as you are, and it's an absolute credit to what you've been able to achieve with Sports Car Market.
Well, thank you, Jeff. I think for us, the fact that our focus has always been on transactions and prices, and that's, some people like that, some people don't like it, but they know what they're going to get when they come to us, that every magazine is going to be full of what this car sold for and what we think about it. Yeah,
you've got a very, I wouldn't say narrow, but a very focused view of what you are about, and I think that's really important in this day and age. I think we've often talked about, when David and I were at Octane and now with Magneto, how actually very different our publishing philosophies are, but at the same time they kind of complement each other. We talk much more about the passion of ownership, and you talk about exactly the values and the market and that side of it. So I think between the two of them, I think we hopefully cover a lot of the hobby.
Well, we Octane and Magneto, they're all in our competitive set, and we're always kind of surveying and polling, and never once have we had somebody say, I'm going to take Magneto instead of Sports Car Market.
No.
They take both.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm glad to be part of this fraternity, because I think what both of us share is a desire to produce a very well-written, good-looking, informative piece that people respect when they get it.
Yeah, I think that's very true, and I know, David, that's what you're trying to achieve with Magneto.
Oh, always, yes, definitely. And as Jeff said, we're great fans of Sports Car Market, and actually it's more than just a magazine, isn't it? You've got all the bits bolted on, and it's just a great brand.
I feel fortunate, and again, it's not that I had any background in publishing or knew anything about what I was doing. I thought I wanted to write something that was kind of like the Ferrari market letter, where Gerald always had chassis numbers and straightforward information. And we started with Alfa Romeos and then expanded out, but always kind of a no nonsense. This this is just what this car is worth because this is what somebody paid for it. And, you know, is it crazy money or stupid money? It doesn't matter. It's what it was worth at one particular instant in time.
Yeah.
So true. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on then, we asked you to nominate a car for the Sports Car Market Choice Award. So I'll hand over to Dave to take you through that and for you to explain the car and the reason for that car.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm always up for talking about cars, but I think we're straight in on this one, aren't we? And you've got a very clear view of what's taken the Sports Car Market prize on this. Over to you, Keith.
Well, I appreciate, again, the opportunity to be a part of this. As I waltzed through all of the cars that were offered, I thought about how Europe has so many bloodlines of vehicles, you know, Asada Fraschini's and Mercedes-Benz, all with long history and each with their own individual flavor. So I'm going through all these cars, and then I came across the Ford GT. And I thought, this is really an American player. You know, in this group of cars, this would be like Ferrari coming to race at the Daytona 500. You know, that, and I've as I've written a little bit for you, I was 16 when this car won Le Mans, and Road and Track was the only place you could get information then, and it was always 2 months old. But we just followed this battle of the titans, Ferrari and Ford. You know, at the boutique versus the behemoth. And the car, the Mark IV, is really the manifestation of, it's the highest and best American sports car ever built.
Yeah. Yeah, all American entry to Le Mans.
Yeah.
And then the car itself, in the condition it's in now, is quite something as well, isn't it?
Yeah, the way that they've been so careful to conserve that car. And to, you know, one of the things we talk about when people, there's such a fetish for a nut and bolt restoration. And when you do that, you erase the identity of a car. Yep. You unfairly take away all the things that it has earned, all the faded bits and the cracks and the scratches. And I'm so glad to see that with this car, I was reading they left the cracks in the fiberglass from when the crew sat on the car for the victory lap.
Yes. I mean, that's just perfect, isn't it?
Well, it's funny, if you look at a row of perfectly restored 250 GTOs, then all you're doing is comparing to see which one is closer to perfection. If you looked at a row of unrestored ones, each one would have a story to tell you and would be a fascinating car in its own right.
It's so true. And it's, as you say, it's so easy to almost casually erase that in a quest for perfection that maybe these cars shouldn't have.
I agree with that. I think one of the most important things you can do is don't touch things until you know what you're doing.
Yes. Yeah. I think that, who was it? Adolfo Orsi was saying that. He says, if you buy a car, you buy it, you put it away for a while, you look around it, you learn about it, and you do not start a restoration until you're absolutely sure you understand the car. I think
that's right. At Miles Collier's museum, he has a Bugatti, and I'm not sure which one it is, but he's had it for almost 10 years now. And it's very decrepit. And he said, we just every day walk around it a little bit and look at it, try to figure out what it's telling us and what the right path for this car should be.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. And that's exactly what the Henry Ford, which is where the Ford Mark IV is, the Henry Ford Museum in Detroit. They've very much preserved this car, and even when there was a little bit of damage when it was transported around Europe, they've managed to bring it back to the point that it was at the end of the race in 1967. Again, they didn't use it as an excuse to restore. I think that's a great choice, Keith.
Well, really. You know, another aspect of this is look at even today, the Ford GT lives on in Ford's offering. So again, this is a passenger car manufacturer. This is not an exotic car manufacturer, but they got that injection of sports car, ultra sports car DNA, and they've managed to not only repeat it with the tribute car, but now with the all-new car, which is modern. there's a part of it that lives on as kind of a halo for Ford Motor Company.
That's so true. And you know, that latest GT, it's getting such rave reviews, and
Yeah.
people have really gone for it. It's not like it's a pastiche. It's a proper supercar. Good on them.
Yep.
That's,
So it was a treat for me to be able to pick that car and to be an American and an American magazine and be on your turf, and find something that really could hold its own amongst all these ultra exotics that are there.
yeah. Well, there we go. I think brilliant choice. 1967 Ford Mark IV GT. It's the winner of the 1967 Le Mans, and it's from the Henry Ford Museum. Great choice, Keith. Thank you very much. I'll hand back to Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Keith. I think, David, you've said it all. So we'll hope to see you at some point on a green field or a golf course at some point in the near future, Keith. But thanks for joining us, and have a good rest of the evening.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here, and I'm very excited for your success for this virtual concours.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Keith.
Good.